Kristin Morrison is the founder of Prosperous Pet Business, six-figure pet sitting academy, six-figure pet business academy. She's the author of the books Prosperous Pet Business, Interviews with the Experts, Volume 1, and Six-Figure Pet Business and Six-Figure Pet Sitting. She's also a speaker at pet business conferences around the country, as well as a business and life coach for pet business owners. She has a free podcast, which is filled with tips and tools for pet business owners. It's called Prosperous Pet Business, and it's so good. You can find it on iTunes and on her website, prosperouspetbusiness.com. Kristin also has hired over 250, that's a lot, staff members in the course of running her 18-year pet care business, which she worked really hard at, and she was amazing. When she sold her business a couple of years ago, she had 35 staff members and 5 managers on staff. She knows what works and what doesn't. And when it comes to hiring, she's going to share with you her magical secrets today. So everyone, welcome Kristin Morrison, the creator of this whole conference.
Oh, you are adorable.
As are you.
Thank you
so Kristin,
for interviewing.
I feel so honored to get to interview you for, is it the 3rd year in a row?
It is. Thank you.
I love to get to be the one. I feel like this is just the specialist, most fun thing to get to do. And I've seen you for years building your business and just kicking butt. And it's amazing how you just continually take it to the next level and the next level and the next level, and you get inspired and you have fun and you do it with passion. And this is like your creation. And I love watching it evolve over the years. And I feel like this is such a perfect topic for you to have chosen, because what I see is if you had not hired amazing people, you wouldn't have time to create this amazing business. You would be sitting in the details, typey, working, in the nitty-gritty stuff that really doesn't allow for the kind of expansion that you create. So I love that. And I just want to honor you for how awesome that is.
Thank you, Alicia. And you're right. It's true. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about hiring people, is because, and helping others to hire people, is because when you're in that nitty gritty, you can't really see and be the visionary that a lot of business owners are meant to be at a certain point in their business. They start their business and it's really about them doing the work to create mastery, to know how to actually train people to be able to do that. But at a certain point and after a certain number of years, it's really important to step into the hiring process. So I love that you pointed that out. It's great.
Yay. So here's my first question. I want to know, as a small business owner, I think about like that moment when it's time to take that leap and to say, okay, let's go. And then I have that sort of fear of, can I really hire somebody? Can I really do this? And I think that we experience a lot of that fear when we hire our first staff members. Tell me, what is the hiring process like for you? What was it like when you first hired your staff members?
Yeah, so it first started with an internal process rather than me actually taking steps to do it. It was me coming to terms with realizing how afraid I was to hire somebody. I had so much fear around it, which in working with so many pet business owners out there, I have actually not worked with a pet business owner who hasn't experienced that fear and sometimes terror, when it comes to placing their business in the hands of somebody. It's a lot. And especially if you've nurtured and nourished your business for a few years, it becomes like your child, So I had to go through that, and it was pretty scary for me. And so the way I see it is almost like the idea comes in of, I think it might be time to hire. And usually that idea comes in at the point where you're really busy, and you cannot do anything else, and perhaps you're turning business away, and that can be so disappointing. So you think it might be time for me to hire somebody. And so, but it wasn't just like I began hiring somebody right away. It was really me coming to terms with my fear, and not only my fear, but my wanting to control my business and be in charge. Because even though you'll be the boss when you hire people, there's still an amount of letting go that happens. And so for me, and I've spoken about this a few times, it takes a lot of courage to hire somebody. It really does. And so it's almost like, we can't buy courage. We have to actually step through it in order to gain courage. And so for anybody out there who's really in fear around hiring, I'm going to encourage you to step through your fear. And I'm going to share a lot today about how to do it, how to hire people in a way that's really going to work for you and to hire the best possible people. And your job at the very beginning is going to be to step through that fear. And it's simply a matter of putting one foot in front of the other, even if you're terrified. It really is. I had to do it. Lots of other pet business owners have had to do it. You're not alone.
Yeah, I think for me, the fears are, am I going to hire the right person? Am I now going to be, will my business continue to be at this bust, this like super boom, or will it, take a dip if I hire someone and I have to be responsible for that person? Like, all these sort of like,
Yep, the chatter that happens. Yeah, and I think you really want to look at, part of it is talking to the chatter, talking back to those negative voices or those fearful voices in your head. And, one of the things too is to really look at financially, is it possible for you to hire? If you have so much business coming in that it's more than you can handle and you're beginning to turn it away, I would say that's a great point to hire. And you will most likely experience a dip financially because you're giving some of the business away and you're having to pay. But what happens is it then creates a vacuum. It creates spaciousness with which to market even more, to create an even bigger business. My belief is that when we have time to really nurture and nourish ourselves through self-care, which happens when you hire people, you have time and space to be able to take care of yourself, that then creates more money and more prosperity and more ease, really. So, there are some things to really look at and to talk back to those voices in the head. And also, I would recommend doing some number crunching. A lot of pet business owners, some of the people that I work with, when they first start, they think, I'm going to hire somebody right away. And I don't encourage that. I say, get in the trenches, do the work yourself so you really know how to actually hire the right person for the different jobs that you need to hire them for. And also to really keep track of how much you're spending and how much you're earning, and not just earning, but to really look at what are the different income streams that are coming in, from the different services that you're offering, because that'll be a clue on where to actually start hiring. If you have a pet sitting company, let's say, and you're noticing that the majority of your business is dog walking, then you're probably going to need to hire more dog walkers. And you might, if not a lot of business is coming from pet sitting, it might be because you're so busy dog walking that you can't really offer the pet sitting services. So then you might want to hire for pet sitting as well. And to really look at, in terms of financially, seeing what is your monthly nut? How much do you need to bring in each month? Both personal and business. So to really keep track of that, and that's going to help determine when you can hire and how many people you can hire and when you can start to step away from the business.
So really getting realistic.
Yeah.
And not just impulsively leaping, but looking at, what do I really want and need? What does this business really want and need? What are the real numbers? And then also it sounds like being prepared that there could be a dip after hiring someone and not freaking out about that, and just knowing, okay, this is creating more space for more business and that it will come back if that happens.
Exactly. And it's a good idea to have a savings account. So I say to new pet business owners or those who've been doing it for a while that think they might want to hire, what you might want to do is just start setting aside some money in you could call it financial freedom account or my new life account. I was working with somebody yesterday, coaching her, and she's like, I want to, leave my full-time job and step full-time into my business. And I said, you need to have a savings account to be able to do that. So we were kind of brainstorming on savings account names to kind of inspire her to actually put money in those accounts. And she decided she was going to call it My New Life. And so, so that you can have that financial buffer, because that will be the support that will help you make the leap and that will really be the foundation to be able to do that.
So cool. It's wonderful information, and just to really get the kind of inner game piece of that. So I want to know, what is the most important thing that I should know when I'm ready to make that first hire, and what do I need to know or remember? Or
Great. Yeah. So I would say the most important thing is you don't want to hire when you're desperate, because desperation leads to impulsivity, and we don't make clear choices when we're desperate. So what I would say is you want to allow a month or two to make your first hire. And if you've hired before and perhaps you haven't hired very good people, allow yourself a month or two to hire someone. So that's the first thing. You want to allow time and spaciousness. The second thing is you want to get clear on what positions you need. I would say clarity is the most important thing. So clarity on the positions that you need to hire for, the hours that they'll need to work, the amount that you want to pay them. So you want to really get clear and, get a piece of paper out and start writing. What do I need to hire for? How much am I willing to pay this person? A lot of pet business owners pay 50% of whatever they're charging. And, some pet business owners may say, that's not very much. It's only $10 an hour or, $12 an hour. You have to, of course, look at minimum wage and what that is. And if it's below minimum wage, or if it's not a very high rate, when you split to 50%, then you're going to want to look at, am I charging enough? A lot of pet business owners aren't charging enough. And so getting clear about what you want to pay your staff members before you've actually hired them is going to enable you to actually look at your rates. And you might have to backtrack a little bit, like, okay, before I hire somebody, I'm actually going to need to raise my rates so that I'm paying my staff a fair wage. So that's something that is really important, that a lot of people bypass. They just write the ad, and then they hit the ground running, but they don't really know, they're not strategic about it and smart about it.
And you could end up hiring a great person who doesn't have the skills or want to do what you have in mind.
It's true. And one of the things too is when you get clear about what exactly you need them to do and when, so the hours, the days, like for dog walking, they're probably going to want to hire somebody who has the availability of between 11 and 2. 11 a.m. to 2, those are the prime dog walking hours. And if you're hiring a dog walker and they're not available for that time, it's like you might as well not hire them, because they're going to be saying no a lot, and then you're going to be frustrated. They're going to be frustrated that they're not getting the work. So if you can get as clear as you can prior to hiring, that's going to enable you to hire and find the right person to work for you and to do those jobs that you need.
That's really helpful. I feel like I'd like to know, you talked a little bit before about, it feels so much like parenting, not that I'm a parent, but this sort of idea of as it grows, you let go of control more and you start to delegate. So it's like hiring a babysitter almost, to be with your child. So how do you know how do you, A, really release that control, and B, logistically, what are the things you do to delegate staff members to do those services?
This is great. So the first thing, again, is more of an internal process of releasing control.
Mm.
And to me, it really comes with doing it in spite of the discomfort that's going to arise. And again, it's very rare, if ever, that I've met somebody that is a pet business owner that is hiring or has hired that hasn't experienced that discomfort around releasing control of their business. And when somebody steps in to help, you really have to release control. So one part is just doing it, but a deeper part is actually, and I'm going to be talking more about this in a bit, is really hiring the right people. And when you can hire the right people that in your gut you realize and know they're going to be great, you're going to be more likely to have more peace around it. It's still probably going to be uncomfortable for you to have them taking care of your baby, which is your business, you know, but it's going to make it a lot easier. So that's the piece in terms of internally. And then what was the other question that you had?
Logistically, what kinds of, how do I know what to delegate? I mean, it may be really clear if it's like walk the dog, but there could be other pieces that I'm not aware of that, you know, do you have any suggestions about that?
Yeah, well, part of it is I recommend looking at, when you're doing the actual service, whatever it is, making a list, because a lot of times we're on autopilot when we're doing whatever we're doing, right? We're not thinking in terms of, well, how would I train somebody to do this? Oh, you just walk a dog. But it might not be as simple as that. It might be, you know, making sure that you have control of the key and that you don't leave it in the house and lock the door behind you. So as you're going through that process of doing that dog walk that day and you know you want to hire, I recommend writing out the steps. You know, get your smartphone out and start playing around with the notes section and just bullet points, you know, have the key in your possession at all times, fill the dog bowl with water, you know, make sure the leash is securely fastened to the collar, you know, simple things like that that you may take for granted, but that when you're training somebody, you really need to spell that out. It makes it a lot easier. And in terms of hiring the right people, so when I was talking about having more peace around letting go of control, one of the things that I did in my own business, because I hired people for the first couple of years of my business, and I hired a couple really great people and a couple really awful people. One woman that I hired ended up taking the dog that she was walking through my company to the county fair and feeding it hot dogs, and it got sick, and it was such a mess, right? I know. I'm laughing about it too, but I was not laughing then. And thankfully, the client was my good friend, so we were able to work it out. But, you know, it really taught me a lot through hiring these crazy people who weren't right. And because I didn't have the skill to hire, I didn't really know what to look for. So after I had hired a few people, I realized what I really wanted was an assistant who could weed out the people that weren't good. And then I could do face-to-face meetings with them, and it would make it a lot easier. I'd have to interview less people. I'd know more what I needed to ask them. And so what I created, and this was, gosh, I created this like 16 years ago, was one day I just thought, you know, I can't really hire for that because I'm the one who has the good intuition. Like, you know, I know who's going to be good for my company and who's not. And most pet business owners who are watching know that too. But what I could do is I could create a paper assistant. So I created an application packet that people had to actually fill out and snail mail back to me. And it's a pretty lengthy application packet, but it's very telling, both what they write in the application packet and if they even mail it back, because it requires a lot of work. So that's something that I created in my business. And so I really recommend that people either create that packet. It's pretty easy to create. Mine is 7 pages long, so it takes some time. I also have it on my website, and I'll be including a little link in the button below if people want to check it out. And you can also see what it is. So if you want to create your own, you'll be able to see what it contains. But that is a really important piece in terms of, when you place an ad, sending them the application packet and then having them snail mail it back. I don't recommend that they just attach it in an email. It's too easy,
Still today, you would say have people do that?
I would. I know. And a lot of people that I'm coaching go, Kristin, this is the age of technology. And I say, I totally understand. And you will be amazed at how many people won't send it back. But the people that do are 9 times out of 10 going to be incredible. And,
wow.
You may place an ad and 300 people may respond, or even 100 people, but most of them aren't going to be the right fit. But if they fill out the packet and they snail mail it back to you, they're probably going to be really committed, really interested in the job, and they're going to do a great job. I can't guarantee that, but usually that's the case.
Speaking of placing an ad, where would you say best places are to get quality people? Where should I advertise?
Yeah, so I would say the best place is Craigslist. And some people may go, oh my God, I don't want to place it on Craigslist. There are weirdos there, but really you want to place the ad where you're going to get the most visibility and the most reception from it and the most response. So in my opinion, Craigslist has been phenomenal. Now, here's the thing about Craigslist. Sometimes if you're in an area that has a lot of pet business owners, that are doing what you're doing, you may place an ad and you may not get a big response. And that may just be because so many pet business owners are also advertising for help. But regardless, I think it's a great place to start, definitely. And again, you can weed out the crazies, from the application packet. The crazies aren't going to probably want to fill it out. And if they do fill it out and they send it to you, you're going to be able to see that they're a little crazy, what they write. So that's something. If you place an ad on Craigslist and you're not finding someone, some other suggestions would be perhaps to create a flyer and place a flyer at your vet's offices, groomers, pet stores, somebody that's not competition for you, but that has access to a lot of pet owners, pet lovers. That can be a great thing to do. A lot of people have found success on Nextdoor.com, so advertising on Nextdoor, placing an ad for help wanted. Also, Care.com. I've had some pet business owners go to Care.com and find other people who are doing like pet sitting, dog walking, and they approach those people directly and say, hey, do you want to supplement, what you're currently doing on Care with work from my company? And that has really been great. I've worked with a lot of pet business owners who have gotten some great people from Care.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what if I just want to hire for a part-time position?
Yeah, and so most pet business owners are going to be wanting to hire for part-time because it's usually, often, especially if you're new to hiring, you're not going to want to give all your work away. It's going to create too much financial instability for you as the business owner if you do that. So most pet business owners want to start out slow. Let's say, again, I'm bringing up pet sitting and dog walking. Let's say, you have a pet sitting and dog walking company and you hire somebody for Tuesday, Thursday dog walking. That can be a great way to start, right? To have somebody 2 days a week. A lot of pet business owners may say, but how do I hire for just a few hours a week? And how you do that is you just simply put it in the ad. I just need somebody for Tuesday, Thursday, 3 hours on Tuesday, 3 hours on Thursday. And, a lot of business owners think from the perspective of being a business owner, and they think, well, I wouldn't want to work 6 hours a week. But that's because you're the business owner. You're not an employee, and employees think very differently. They think, this is supplemental income. I get to work with dogs. This is so wonderful. And again, business owners may think, well, why would somebody even want to do this for $12 or $15 an hour? Again, you're thinking like a business owner and not like an employee who's going to be thinking, this is so great that I get to make $12 or $15 an hour doing, part-time work, working with animals, getting paid to exercise. It's a really different way of looking at it.
That makes a lot of sense. If you spoke earlier about people who might not have those hours available necessarily, and what if you hire someone who you call and they are often saying no?
Yeah, that happens.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so backtracking a little bit, one of the things is in the application packet, I really recommend that people, and I have this in mind, that people write down, list the hours that you have available to work so that you're really clear and they're clear, right, from the very beginning. But oftentimes that can change down the road. And so one of the most distressing things for pet business owners is they hire somebody. They're available in the beginning, it's like the honeymoon stage. And then all of a sudden they're like, I can't do it. So at that point, what I would do, I wouldn't wait, because a lot of pet business owners wait. They keep accepting the no, and then they get more and more upset, right? So maybe the no happens 2-3 times. At that point, I recommend that they approach the person and say, I'm just checking in. I've noticed you've said no to some of the jobs. Are you still available? Because if not, I'm going to need to look for somebody else, or we're going to need to reassess your hours that you're working. So to be in clear communication sooner rather than later is going to be really helpful.
That makes a lot of sense. Rather than waiting and thinking and spinning out in your own head about it.
And putting up with it, and then having to scramble to find somebody, or you as the business owner having to do the work because your staff member isn't available. And another thing that I recommend for holidays, and this is something that a lot of pet business owners don't do because they get so wrapped up in the day-to-day, but starting in September, I recommend that they send emails out to their staff members and say, I'm just checking in. I'm looking at the end of the year holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's. I recommend that pet business owners have a policy that if they're pet sitters, and dog walkers, that they require that their staff work at least 2 of the 3 end of the year holidays, because those are going to be the biggest part of your business in terms of holidays. That end of the year, a lot of people call, and you don't want to be up a creek trying to hire people last minute. So the first thing to do is to just get clear that that's your policy when you hire somebody. You have to work 2 out of the 3 end of the year holidays. And then so in September, sending them an email saying, just a reminder that we do have a policy that you work at least 2 out of the 3 end of the year holidays. And, which ones are you available for this year? Please let me know by, and having a date that's like a week from the date that you send out the email, so that you have crystal clarity going into the holiday season. And if they're not available, or all of a sudden they say, I can't work any, then you've probably got to let them go and find somebody else, but you'll have plenty of time to do it.
Good call. So I'm wondering, which comes first? Do I do marketing first, or do I hire staff members first?
Yeah, that is a good question. A lot of pet business owners think marketing, but it's actually hiring, because you really want to make sure that if you market, you've got the staff, because then you're wasting money, time, energy on marketing, but you're going to have to scramble to do it. People. So I recommend that you hire, and then once you've hired people, go in a marketing frenzy. Just go for it. Yeah.
Huh. That's really interesting. And so when you talked about having this really comprehensive set of questions, when you look at them, you've got a lot of information, but when you actually have an interview, what are the most important questions to ask?
Yeah, so a lot
Person to person.
yeah, it's a great question too, Alicia. A lot of pet business owners tend to ask yes or no questions, but I don't recommend that because they're going to tell you what they want you to hear or what they know you want to hear. So the application packet is really going to give you a lot of information. And what I found is when I used the application packet and I had it in front of me in terms of, right in front of me when I was interviewing somebody, I didn't really need to ask that many questions because I had so much information. But the questions I did ask were not yes or no, they were open-ended questions. So they actually had to come up with an answer. So one of them might be, let's say, pet sitter. One of them might be, how do you pill a cat? Or how do you do sub-Q fluids? Another one might be, what would you do if? What would you do if? Questions are great. So what I recommend is looking at, from your own prior experience, what has come up in your own business, because that'll make it really easy for you to come up with questions. What if you come into the house and the dog is lethargic? What do you do? So what if questions are really good. And I don't recommend asking a ton of questions because, again, you're going to have a lot of information from the application packet, but maybe, 5 questions that you come up with. And those can be your standard questions that you ask everyone.
Awesome. And once you do hire somebody, you found that magical first or fifth person, what is the most efficient, best way to train them?
So what I recommend doing, and again, bringing it into if you're a pet sitter, dog walker, if you're a dog trainer, what I recommend is that you go to at least the first 3 meet and greets where you're meeting the client, you're getting to know the pet. That can be a great way to kind of see how they are with the clients, how they are with the pets. And then after the 3rd, I recommend that they go to the meet and greets on their own, and then have them come with you to dog training sessions. Have them come with you to pet sitting, dog walks. So if you're a groomer, have them shadow you for a while. And then have them do it and you're shadowing them, switch it around a little bit. But at some point you're going to need to say, okay, you're ready to go on your own. And both you and your new hire are going to know when that point is. You want to make sure that they feel comfortable. Hey, how do you feel about going to the meet and greets on your own? I usually have my new staff members do the first 3 with me, but I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with that. Or do you feel ready to do the pet sitting? Do you feel ready to, connect with the dog training client and start training their puppy? How do you feel about that? So being in communication with them can be helpful.
That makes a lot of sense. So taking a leap even further, I want to say that I remember when you were traveling to Bali frequently and having amazing experiences for months at a time and experiencing so much freedom and able to continue to run your whole pet sitting business. And I was blown away at how you were able to turn things over to your managers and that they were able to, you could be in contact with them and they were in contact with the employees. And so I'm curious, how did you manage to keep those employees so loyal and so happy for so many years that and having your staff turnover so low? What was your magical secret to get to be in Bali?
It's funny because I think my magical secret was really appreciation and gratitude. So I was in constant appreciation and gratitude to my staff members, and I was always saying, I'm so happy you're on staff. I just love working with you. I really did feel that. It wasn't like I was making it up. I felt and feel, even when I think about it now, even though I don't run my business anymore, I have so much gratitude for them, both my managers and my staff members. But So that was the most important piece. I think they felt appreciated by me and really loved. Like, I remember when I turned the business over to the new owner, I said, I really want you to know that the culture of my business, each business has a culture, right? And I said, the culture of my business is love. And she's like, what? And I said, she kind of got it, but I had to share a little bit more. And I said, I really have a lot of love for my staff members. And I really see them as they are my business. Like, egotistically, we business owners may think we're the business, but really it's the staff members if we have staff members. They are the ones who are really in the trenches, working with the clients, working with the pets. And so, in a lot of diagrams that you used to see, this has really changed now, but I remember a lot of diagrams were like, clients were the most important, right? But for me, my staff members have always been the most important, more important than clients. Clients are really important, but in my opinion, the staff members and their well-being and their happiness is the most important. So, I really monitored, how are they doing? Are they happy doing this? I would ask them periodically, is there anything that I can do to make your job better? And, do you feel like you're getting enough hours? Do you feel like you're working too much? Being in communication with them is really important. And, all my managers, I had 5 when I sold the business, and I had 5 when I was traveling to India and Bali the 2 years that I was gone. And I was gone for 4 months one year and then 8 months the next year. It was just amazing. And they ran my business and did a great job. One of the most important things was, having them, the managers, do the pet sitting and dog walking. Like, they started out as pet sitters and dog walkers. And then because of that, they knew the back end of the business, and they were really able to run the business in a way that they both knew managing and doing the work. So they were able to relate to the dog walkers and pet sitters more. And that was really important. And so I feel and felt so blessed to have such great staff members that, there was just a lot of love between us, and it was good.
Wow, that's really impactful. I feel like there's so much wisdom in that, so many levels of, just the sharing of love and the way that you appreciate people. And I feel like I see that you do that in your whole life. And so it seems like a way to do that in your business with your employees would be to practice that in every area of your life. And then it's really natural, is what I imagine.
That is a really good point, Alicia. That really is. It's like the way we do one thing is the way we end up doing everything. And so I'm learning something from that, just what you've said, because there's something in my life that I want to work on. And so, I'm thinking, okay, I could apply it to this area of my life, and I bet it would, impact every area. So I love that. And, going back to appreciation too, one of the things that's really important for those who have hired and are hiring is to have a client satisfaction survey that they send out to their clients. And, your clients are going to be more likely to fill it out if you, and again, this is very archaic, but it really works, if you snail mail it to your clients and you include a self-addressed stamped envelope and have a very simple client questionnaire. You don't want it to be intense and for them to have to fill out too much, but you do want information about how your staff members are doing. And if you include that self-addressed stamped envelope, your clients are going to be more likely to send it back because they're going to feel guilty. They're going to see the stamp and they're going to go, oh, I got to send this back. And if you keep it simple, it's going to make it easy for them to do that. The other piece about the client satisfaction survey is that when you get the response back, either negative or positive, and you'll probably end up getting a lot of positive response if you're doing a good job and your staff members are, then it's important to contact those staff members and say, hey, just want to let you know Mrs. Smith just sent in her satisfaction survey. She's so happy with the work you're doing, and I really want to thank you. And, you know, I would get these back and I would think, oh, I really don't want to call this staff member. I've got so much to do. But it was like, they're the most important. You know, I'd think back to the pyramid and where they sit on the pyramid, and they're the most important. So it's important to take time out. It's sort of like meditating. I've heard, you know, if you think you're too busy to meditate, you need to meditate more. It's sort of like if you think you're too busy to appreciate your staff members, you need to do it more.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Any last tips or things that you want to share about hiring? Or,
you know, I really tend to go with my intuition and my gut when it comes to hiring. When it comes to really anything in my life, I go with, you know, how does it feel inside? And for some, you may need to cultivate that. For others, it's inherent and just very natural. But, you know, most of us, especially if we're working with animals, we have that innate ability. We have it anyway, but we're more conscious of it if we're working with animals, because animals are very intuitive. And if we're around them a lot, we are too, right? We start to hone that. So listen to that. I work with a lot of pet business owners who call me and they're like, oh my God, I hired the most horrible person. How do I get them out? You know? And really what you want to do is you want to hire good people from the very beginning. And oftentimes they would say, when we would backtrack and kind of do a dissection of what happened when they hired, they would say, you know, I had a feeling about this person. I felt like they wouldn't be that great when I hired them. And yet I was desperate, right? So getting out of desperation, listening to your gut, and hiring people that you really enjoy being around is really, really important. Another thing that's important is you want to hire people that are good with both people and pets. I would have a lot of people that would want to work with me that would say, you know, I love pets and I really don't like people that much. And that would be a red flag for me, because, you know, even if they only see that client once, when they see that client at the meet and greet, they have to make a good impression. So you really want people that are good with people and pets.
Sometimes people are just kind of like talking pets.
It's true. Yeah, I know. I remember last time you interviewed me, we were talking about how people are like animals, and like I'm a golden retriever, and I forget what you were, like a whippet or something.
What is that?
Like a whippet? Oh, do you know the whippet dogs? They're very cute. They're very cute.
Am I sort of like that?
You are. You Google it.
Okay.
Check it out on YouTube. I think you'll think that you're like a whippet too.
Okay.
They're really fast, and they're adorable, and they've got really pretty eyes, and they're playful and fun. Yeah, you're like a whippet.
Wow, this interview has been just packed full of, like, you know, I feel like all of this stuff is applicable to pretty much every area of life. And so I hope that people watch this maybe even more than once, because there are a lot of layers here, and I just appreciate your knowledge and your wisdom and your experience and your ability to both be really massively successful as well as just really down to earth. And I'm honored to get to know you.
Thank you, Alicia. You know, it's funny when you said it's applicable to every area of life. I'm thinking, I think we even talked about like with the application packet, like creating a dating packet.
I need one of those.
All those online dates.
Must go out by snail mail.
Yeah, and can you do it? You know, I know you're a high-tech guy, but can you do it? Somebody's going to take hold of that and run with that business idea and go for it. Whoever wants to do it, go for it. Thank you so much, Alicia. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.